I cradled the paper bag against my belly as if it could shield my child from the sharp autumn wind. 8 months. Every step felt heavy, yet inside the bag were tiny socks the color of cream, and somehow that made me smile. The bell over the baby store door jingled behind me. A soft lullaby faded into silence as I stepped outside. Sunlight hit me in the face. In the reflection of the glass window of the Italian restaurant next door, I caught sight of myself. Swollen belly, tired skin, messy bun, a loose gray maternity dress that didn't do me any favors. And then the reflection broke. Two figures walked past me, hand in hand. Him, my ex-husband, and her. The woman in the white dress, his new wife. For a split second, he froze when our eyes met through the glass. My heart lurched into my throat. She, however, smirked like she had been waiting for this exact moment. Before I could step back, the restaurant doors swung open. A cool breeze rushed out, carrying the scent of garlic butter and expensive wine. My grip tightened around the bag until the paper crinkled. "Oh," she said first, tilting her head as though she'd discovered something amusing. Her voice was sweet, sharp. "So, the baby's almost here?" I said nothing. His eyes flicked down to my belly, lingered, then darted away as if he hadn't seen me at all. But I saw the crack in his mask. I knew that look once meant he cared. She deliberately raised her left hand, letting the diamond catch the sunlight. "The restaurant just opened. We have a reservation at 1. What a coincidence." The words stabbed harder than I expected. I remembered when he once promised to take me to lunch every Saturday, promises that always ended with, "Sorry, I'm stuck at the office." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Enjoy your meal." A waiter passed, balancing 2 glasses of Prosecco. She snatched one, still clinging to his arm, and gave me a smile so thin it could slice. That's when I noticed something. As he adjusted his coat, a black envelope peeked out of his inner pocket. Sunlight hit the embossed letters. Halberd and Finch, audit notice. Just for a second, but enough for me to register it. Audit. Financial investigation. Why would he be carrying that into a date? She leaned in, lowering her voice but loud enough for me to hear. "Good luck, with everything." My child kicked inside me, sharp and insistent, almost as if to remind me I wasn't standing here alone. I pressed my palm against my belly. Just then, a man at the bar looked up. Middle-aged, charcoal suit, tie dotted with tiny silver patterns. His eyes scanned the room, pausing on my ex, cold, calculating, like someone who already knew too much. Then he set down his espresso and turned away. The new wife's smile widened. She stepped closer until I could smell her perfume. Too sweet, cloying. "Don't waste your time clinging to what's not yours." Finally, I met her eyes. My voice was steady. "I never asked for anything." For a moment, her face darkened. Then she laughed softly, tapping her ring. "This world isn't as simple as you think. With the right signature, things disappear, like marriages." I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. The old pain rose, but I stood my ground. Real happiness doesn't come from stepping on someone else. She let out a full laugh and tugged on his arm like he was her trophy. "Honey, let's not keep our table waiting, especially with her baby out here." That was the first time I felt it. Not sadness, not humiliation, but anger. Cold and sharp. He finally spoke, his voice low, strained. "Enough." But he didn't look at me. He didn't defend me. She ignored him. Her eyes glittered. "Tell me, though." She paused, savoring the words. "Who's gonna take responsibility for that child?" Her question hit like a hook to the ribs. I staggered inside, but my baby kicked again, stronger this time, grounding me. I straightened. "My child will carry the name of the one who protects them, not the one who abandoned them." The lobby went silent. A couple near the door stopped arguing. Even the hostess glanced up. He looked at the floor like a schoolboy caught lying. She smirked again, triumphant. "We'll see about that." And then, before disappearing back inside, she threw one last barb across the air, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Good luck being a single mom. Not everyone wants a child without a father's name." The glass doors shut behind them, and I stood there, staring at the faint reflection of myself, tired, heavy, but not broken. That black envelope still glinted in my mind, the stranger's calculating gaze still burned in my memory. She thought she had won, but she had no idea. They had just lit a fire they couldn't control. When I got home that night, I couldn't stop shaking. My bag of baby clothes sat unopened on the couch while I lowered myself slowly into the chair by the window. The city lights blurred into one another, like tears on glass. I hadn't seen him in months, not since the court papers were signed. But that look in his eyes today, the way he froze when he saw my belly, sent me spiraling back into the years I had spent giving him everything. I married him young. I was 21, naive, and thought love was enough. He had that smile, easy, charming, the kind that made you believe he'd carry the whole world on his back if it meant protecting you. And I believed it. I gave him my best years. I worked double shifts, cut coupons, and put my own dreams on hold while he chased his ambitions. Every promotion, every business dinner, every late night at the office, I supported with blind faith. I told myself it was worth it, that one day it would all come back to us. But somewhere along the line, us turned into him. I remember one night clearer than all the rest. It was raining so hard the gutters overflowed. I sat on the edge of our bed, cradling a bowl of chicken soup that had long gone cold. I waited for his key in the lock. Midnight came and went. The rain never stopped, and neither did my waiting. At 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A message, "Don't wait up. Busy." That was the night I realized the person I married was already gone. And then she entered the picture. Not suddenly, not loudly, she slipped in like smoke. First as a friend from work, then as the reason he was never home. The perfume I smelled on his shirts wasn't mine. The lipstick on his collar wasn't mine. The laughter he saved for his phone wasn't mine either. It wasn't long before she became bold enough to look me in the eye. Even before the divorce, she knew she had already won. And I, too exhausted, too pregnant, couldn't fight anymore. When the papers were signed, I told myself it was over. I told myself I'd never have to see them again. But today proved how wrong I was. Her words replayed in my mind. Who's going to take responsibility for that child? I wanted to scream that he had already forfeited every right the moment he walked away. But I didn't. I stood there. I smiled through the crack in my chest. And when she flashed that diamond ring at me today, when she twisted the knife by bringing up our divorce, I understood something new. She didn't just want him. She wanted my humiliation. She wanted me to stand there and know that everything I had given, she now paraded like her prize. But what she doesn't know, what neither of them know, is that the story isn't finished. Not yet. The rain from that memory never really left me. Even now, months later, I still hear it whenever the house is too quiet. I live alone in a small apartment now. Just one bedroom, one kitchen, one bathroom. Nothing fancy, just enough. The kind of place where you hear every creak in the hallway and the hum of the refrigerator keeps you company at night. It's not the house we used to share, but it's mine. And for once, the silence here belongs to me. But silence can be cruel too. Especially when your body is heavy with a child, and every trip to the grocery store feels like climbing a mountain. Especially when you're 8 months pregnant, and the only hands that touch you are your own, resting on your belly, begging for strength. I do what I can. I manage the bills, I keep the fridge stocked with basic food, and I fold the little onesies I bought at the store earlier today. But there are nights I can barely roll over in bed without wincing. Nights when I wish, just for a second, that someone would ask if I'm okay. And then I remember. He stopped asking a long time ago. I still see flashes of that last night in the old house. Rain slamming against the windows, me, curled up on the couch with swollen feet, staring at the front door. I knew he wasn't coming home. I knew exactly where he was, wrapped in someone else's arms, with someone else's perfume clinging to his skin. And yet, I waited. Because that's what you do when you're a wife who still believes. But believing cost me everything. I touched my belly now, feeling the baby stir. "It's just you and me," I whispered. The words were meant to reassure, but they burned in my throat. Earlier today, when she pulled him inside that restaurant, I saw it. The hesitation in his eyes. His hand gripped hers, but his gaze stayed on me. Or maybe not on me at all. Maybe just on the life growing inside me. Did he feel guilt, regret, or was it just fear? I'll never know. But I do know this. No matter what he feels, he doesn't get to claim this child. Not after leaving us, not after replacing me so easily. I leaned back in my chair, letting my eyes close. I should be sleeping, but my mind replayed that moment over and over. The diamond ring flashing, her smug little smile, his eyes locked on my stomach, like it was a secret he couldn't bury. And for the first time in a long while, I wondered. Maybe the secret isn't mine to carry. The next afternoon, I decided to walk. My doctor said light exercise would help with the swelling in my legs, and besides, I needed air. The sky was pale, the kind of gray that makes the whole city look tired. I moved slowly, one hand supporting my belly, the other clutching the railing of every stair I had to climb. I didn't expect to see them again so soon. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. There they were, standing outside the same restaurant, laughing with another couple. She looked flawless, of course, her dress hugging every line of her body, her makeup perfect as if she had never known fatigue. He stood beside her, his hand tucked neatly at her back, playing the role of the charming husband. I could have walked away. I should have. But my steps slowed, and somehow she noticed me. Her laughter stopped. Her eyes lit up with the kind of excitement only cruelty can bring. She excused herself from the group and strode toward me, heels clicking like gunshots on the pavement. "Well, well," she said, eyeing my belly. 8 months and still walking around alone? Her tone was honey laced with poison. I pressed my palm over my belly, steadying myself. "Yes," I answered quietly. Her smile sharpened. "Tell me, who's going to take responsibility for that child?" My breath caught. The words were a direct hit, meant to split me open in public. For a moment, I glanced at him. He had followed behind her but stood back now, silent. His face tightened, his hands jammed into his pockets. He couldn't even look me in the eye. And that silence, that cowardly silence, cut deeper than anything she could have said. I forced a smile. "Don't worry. I don't need responsibility from a man who can't even speak up." Her smirk faltered for a second. Then she leaned closer, whispering so only I could hear. "You're pathetic, even now, still pretending to be strong." Something inside me snapped. My voice rose, not loud, but firm enough to carry. "I'm not pretending, I'm surviving, and that's more than you'll ever know." Her eyes widened, not used to me fighting back. Before she could retort, another voice cut through. "Is everything all right here?" I turned. A man stood a few feet away, holding a cup of coffee. His face was familiar. It took me a moment to place him, an old colleague, someone I hadn't seen in years. His eyes darted from me to them, reading the tension instantly. I exhaled slowly. Relief, embarrassment, gratitude, all tangled together. "Yes," I said, forcing calm. "Everything's fine." But my ex-wife's smile, sharp and glittering, said otherwise. "Everything's fine," I repeated, though my voice trembled more than I wanted. But my old colleague Daniel didn't look convinced. He walked closer, positioning himself just slightly in front of me, like a shield. He had always been like that, even years ago when we worked side by side at the accounting firm. Back then, he was the quiet one, steady, someone you didn't notice right away until you needed help. And here he was again. He glanced at my belly, then at the couple behind me. His jaw tightened, and in that silence, something passed between him and my ex-husband. A recognition, a quiet challenge. "Long time no see," Daniel said to me, his tone warm, deliberately ignoring the others. "You look strong." The words hit me harder than I expected. Strong. No one had called me that in months. I almost laughed. "Thank you," I managed, lowering my eyes. Behind him, she scoffed, crossing her arms. "How touching. Old friends running into each other. Should we give you two some privacy?" Her sarcasm rolled off him like rain on glass. He didn't even look her way. Instead, he leaned slightly closer to me and said quietly, "I've heard things about them." His eyes flicked toward my ex and his new wife. My pulse quickened. "What kind of things?" He hesitated, as if weighing whether to speak here in front of them. Then his voice dropped to a near whisper. "Let's just say, money has a way of revealing the truth, and some people are about to learn that the hard way." Her head snapped up. "Excuse me?" Daniel straightened, his expression polite but unreadable. "Just speaking in general." But I knew better. There was something deliberate in his words, something pointed. I looked at my ex-husband. His face was pale, his lips pressed into a hard line. He knew exactly what Daniel was referring to. The black envelope I had glimpsed yesterday. The look in the eyes of that man in the charcoal suit. There was something here. Something bigger than betrayal. My heart raced, not from fear this time, but from something else. Anticipation. "Maybe we should catch up sometime," Daniel said gently. "Coffee? Just the two of us." I nodded before I could stop myself. "Yes, I'd like that." Her laugh rang out, high-pitched, sharp. "Coffee? With her? Don't waste your time." Daniel finally turned his gaze on her, calm and steady. Sometimes, he said, the people you underestimate most are the ones who surprise you. Her smile faltered, just slightly. But I caught it, and for the first time in months, I felt something new. Not just pain, not just anger, hope. Daniel and I met 2 days later at a quiet cafe tucked between a bookstore and a laundromat. It wasn't fancy, but it was private, the kind of place where no one cared to listen, and that was exactly what I needed. I arrived early, easing myself into a corner booth. My back ached, and my ankles were swollen, but I tried to sit tall. This wasn't just about me anymore. Daniel showed up on time, a folder tucked under his arm. He looked older than I remembered, more lines at the corners of his eyes, but his presence was steady, grounding. We ordered coffee, though mine sat untouched. My stomach churned, not from the baby this time, but from the anticipation of what he might say. Finally, he opened the folder and slid a few pages toward me. "What is this?" I asked, frowning at the columns of numbers and signatures. "Evidence," he said simply. "Your ex-husband has been funneling money through his new wife's family company. Shell accounts, fraudulent invoices, you name it. It's not just bad business, it's illegal." My throat tightened. "You're sure?" Daniel nodded. "Positive. I've been consulting on a project connected to their firm. I stumbled across discrepancies and traced them back. It's messy, but the trail is clear." I stared at the pages, my hands trembling slightly. Fraud. Embezzlement. Words I had only ever heard on the news, now tied to the man I once trusted with everything. "He's using her?" I whispered, realizing the truth. Daniel's expression was grim. "More than that, he's hiding behind her. Most of the accounts are under her family's name. If this collapses, and it will, she'll take the fall first." My mind reeled. She wasn't just the woman who stole my husband, she was his shield. And she didn't even know it. But Daniel wasn't finished. He leaned closer, his voice low. "There's more. She isn't loyal to him either. I've seen the records, travel expenses, private meetings, cash withdrawals. There's someone else in the picture, someone she's been seeing behind his back." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Betrayal upon betrayal. Two snakes coiled around each other, waiting for the right moment to strike. And me, I had been cast aside, left to rot. Yet somehow, sitting here, I felt a surge of strength I hadn't felt in months. "They deserve each other," I muttered. But even as I said it, my hand rested on my belly. My child deserved better than this web of lies. Daniel studied me carefully. "I don't know what you plan to do, but whatever it is, you're not powerless, not anymore." For the first time in a long time, I believed it. The night after meeting Daniel, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. My reflection stared back at me. Pale skin, swollen ankles, messy bun barely holding my hair together. I looked tired, exhausted even, but not broken. Not anymore. For months, I had carried shame like it was stitched into my skin. Shame for being left, for being alone, for raising a child without the father who should have been there. Every cruel word she threw at me, every silence he offered me, I wore like a scar. But now I saw them differently. They weren't powerful, they weren't untouchable. They were just two people tangled in greed and betrayal, clinging to each other to survive. And I had something they didn't: truth. I placed both hands on my belly, feeling the baby roll inside me. "We're not victims anymore," I whispered. "We're fighters." The next morning, I changed. Not my body, there was no undoing the heaviness of the final month of pregnancy, but my posture, my presence. I walked straighter. I spoke louder. I met the stares of strangers on the street without flinching. When I passed the restaurant again, she happened to be there. Standing at the entrance, laughing with her friends. Our eyes locked. She smirked, expecting me to lower my head, to slip by quietly. I didn't. Instead, I stopped, squared my shoulders, and looked her in the eye. I didn't say a word, but the silence itself was louder than anything I could have shouted. Her smile flickered. Just for a second. Later that week, I gathered the documents Daniel had given me. I laid them out on the kitchen table, reading every number, every signature, until they burned into my mind. Fraud, lies, betrayal. I no longer saw them as wounds, they were weapons. For the first time since my marriage fell apart, I felt something that had been buried deep inside me: control. I wasn't just going to survive, I was going to stand. And when the time came, I was going to expose them. The opportunity came faster than I expected. A week later, I received an invitation in the mail, addressed not to me but accidentally slipped into my box. A glossy white envelope with gold trim. It was for a charity gala downtown, hosted by none other than his new wife's family company. At first, I thought about tossing it. Why walk into a room full of people who once whispered behind my back? Why give them another chance to laugh at me? But then I remembered the black envelope in his pocket. Daniel's folder of evidence. The man in the charcoal suit. The truth they thought they had buried. So I didn't throw it away. I kept it. On the night of the gala, I wore a simple black dress. Nothing expensive, just one I had saved for years and adjusted to fit my swollen belly. I brushed my hair until it shone. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see shame anymore. I saw defiance. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and laughter. People in tuxedos and sequined gowns milled about, sipping champagne, praising the couple who had become the city's newest power pair. I walked in slowly, each step deliberate. Conversations faltered. Eyes widened. Whispers began. She came? Alone? 8 months pregnant? And then I saw them, standing at the center like royalty. He in a tailored suit, she in a sparkling gown, her diamond ring catching every light. When she noticed me, her smile froze. When he noticed me, his face drained of color. I didn't wait. I approached the podium where the speeches were being made. My heart thundered, but my voice was steady. "Excuse me," I said, taking the microphone. "I won't stay long, but I think it's time the truth came out." Gasps rippled across the room. She hurried forward, hissing under her breath, "What are you doing?" I turned to face the crowd. "You all see a perfect couple, but perfection has cracks, and tonight I'm here to show you some of them." I pulled the folder from my bag and spread the documents across the podium. Numbers, accounts, forged signatures. The air thickened with silence. "He's been funneling money through this very company," I said clearly. "Fraud, embezzlement, and she," I nodded at the woman who had once smirked at me in triumph, "is the shield he hides behind." All eyes turned. Some mouths fell open. The man in the charcoal suit stepped forward from the back, his expression grim. "She's telling the truth," he confirmed. "These documents match our ongoing investigation." Chaos erupted. Guests whispered furiously. Reporters scribbled notes. Flashes went off from phones. My ex-husband's composure shattered. He rushed toward me, voice trembling. "Please, stop. Don't do this." His hands trembled as he tried to gather the papers. "You don't understand. This will destroy everything." I looked him dead in the eye. "You destroyed everything the moment you betrayed me, the moment you walked away from us." He froze. Everyone was watching now. His silence screamed louder than any confession, and for the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt powerful. The fallout was immediate. By the next morning, headlines splashed across every local paper. "Power couple under fire for fraud allegations." Photographs of them, my ex-husband and his new wife, staring wide-eyed at the gala, surrounded by reporters, were everywhere. Their empire, built on lies, started to collapse in real time. Her family company's accounts were frozen pending investigation. Investors pulled out, clients cut ties. Overnight, the glamorous image they had crafted turned sour, tainted by scandal. Inside their mansion, the cracks widened. I didn't see it with my own eyes, but I heard enough. He blamed her for being careless, for drawing too much attention. She blamed him for dragging her family into his mess. Their shouting matches echoed through walls that once held their smug laughter. But betrayal breeds more betrayal. Soon, rumors leaked. She had been seen with another man, someone she'd been meeting for months. The press devoured it. Suddenly, she was no longer the loyal wife, but the adulteress. And him? He was painted as the greedy husband who gambled everything and lost. I should have felt vindicated, and I did, in part. Watching their perfect facade crumble was satisfying. But standing in my little apartment, hand on my swollen belly, I realized something important. I didn't hate them anymore. Hate had burned me for months, and it nearly consumed me. But now, I just felt free. The day he tried to reach me, I was folding baby clothes. My phone buzzed, and his name lit up the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. His voice was hoarse, desperate. "Please, you have to believe me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I lost control. Please, don't let them take everything from me." I closed my eyes, listening. Once I would have given anything to hear his regret, but now it meant nothing. "You already took everything," I said softly. "I'm just giving it back to you." Silence, then a broken whisper. Don't hang up, I did. And as I placed the phone down, I realized I wasn't the one clinging anymore. He was. He had lost everything, his career, his image, even her. And all he had left was the memory of the woman he betrayed. But that woman was gone. I was no longer his wife. I was no longer his victim. I was something else entirely. 4 weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, I held my child for the first time. The hospital room was bathed in soft light. The world outside could have been chaos, but inside, it was only peace. Tiny fingers wrapped around mine, impossibly small yet strong enough to anchor me completely. Tears slid down my cheeks, not from pain but from release. Months of humiliation, loneliness, and betrayal washed away in that single moment. I wasn't broken. I wasn't abandoned. I was a mother. Daniel visited later that day. He stood by the doorway at first, unsure, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. When I smiled, he stepped closer. He looked down at the baby with a softness I hadn't seen in years. "She's beautiful," he said quietly. I nodded, brushing a fingertip across her cheek. "She's everything." He pulled a chair beside me. "You know, you don't have to do this all alone." His voice was steady, but his eyes gave him away. Hopeful, hesitant, maybe even afraid of overstepping. I let the words sink in. For so long I had been forced to carry everything by myself. But maybe I didn't have to anymore. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked down at my daughter, her chest rising and falling with tiny breaths. A new life. A new beginning. The past was behind me now. My ex-husband and his new wife faced their downfall, and justice would take its course. That was no longer my burden to bear. Their world had collapsed, and mine was just beginning. I leaned back against the pillows, feeling the warmth of the morning sun spill across the room. My baby stirred, her eyes fluttering open for the briefest moment before closing again. And I whispered, mostly to myself, but maybe to her too, "We're going to be okay. Better than okay." For the first time in a long time, I believed it. Because women can be betrayed, abandoned, left standing alone in the rain, but we do not stay broken. We rise. We rebuild. We protect what matters. And now, holding my daughter in the golden light of morning, I knew. Love and justice always find their way to those who deserve it.